Here we go. I'm going to put the microphone down. The first thing we're going to need is that little booty band because we're going to do some banded hip flexion. Like I said, it's Casual Friday. I'm at the beach. I know that the rest of the country has like a polar vortex going on or something like that, which is really unfortunate, but it's pretty nice here. Inside the clinic, a balmy 81 degrees. It's a good time. So you're going to grab your band. Mine's a little long, so I might figure eight it. And we're getting right into using our hip flexors. A lot of us have been sitting all week. We've been keeping our hip flexors short. And a short hip flexor is usually one that stays tight. A strong hip flexor usually is being told when to be on and when to be off. So we actually want strong hip flexors. It sounds crazy, like why would I want to strengthen my hip flexors? Well, chances are they're actually really weak because we keep them in a shortened position while we sit. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe we should strengthen them. And so this first exercise, a banded hip flexion exercise, is really good at introducing resistance to hip flexion for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this band, and a lot of times it goes around the knees, but today it's actually going around the feet. And so I've got that looped around my feet, and I'm going to just lay down on my back, and you're going to do one side at a time, and then you're going to switch. So we're going to be laying down on our backs, like so. Oh, feels good. It's been a long week. Maybe you've got a cocktail, although this is not the class you're going to want that cocktail for. Maybe after. And you're going to keep both of your toes dorsiflexed, okay? Both your feet dorsiflexed up towards your head, because those are your anchors for the band so it doesn't go flying. From here, you're going to pull your knee up, and your knee has to go past your hip. If it goes here, we're not using the psoas. If it comes up above your hip joint, we're finally using that psoas. And then you come down. And you want to make sure you're nice and braced in the trunk, and we're going for 10 reps, and then you're switching sides. I'm not flying through this. I'm just relaxing. It's Friday. We got 5 more to go. So if you picked up a heavy looped band, you're probably regretting that decision right now. And even the stuff that we do a little bit later is going to be tough too. So you might want to hunt down a light one. I got 2 more, and it's okay if you feel the front of your hip working. It's what it's supposed to do. We're going to stretch it out in a minute here after we do a little bit of foam rolling. So we're getting right into the highlights. All the props are getting used right away, but we're going to come back to them. All right, now we're switching sides. Now, once you get the hang of this, I'm okay with you alternating, but just for today, I want you to build up a little bit of endurance and just do 10 in a row. And if you've been following along on hip or back days, you know I love using the hip flexors and then stretching them out. But we're going to take a little detour today before we stretch these guys out and do a little foam rolling for our quads and we'll say IT bands, although it's really just your quad and your hamstring that you're rolling. And I think that was 10. Okay, so don't throw the band too far away because we're going to be coming back to it. So we've got our foam rollers, and if you don't know already, foam rolling is great to help stretch out a muscle. And that's kind of it. It's not going to break up adhesions. We're not going to lengthen our fascia. We're not doing any of that stuff. All we're doing is giving our muscles a stimulus. Our nervous system says, oh, this is cool information. I'll take this and do something with it. And usually, it's helping that muscle relax a little bit so we can move a little bit more freely. Also gets a little bit of blood flow to whatever muscle we're rolling. Today we're going to be doing our quads. Maybe you're having a little bit of that knee pain. We said we have our quadricep tendon above the patella, and then you have your patellar tendon below the patella. They're kind of like one and the same. They both come from your quadricep. And sometimes if you're having tension in the front of your knee, this might be really helpful. Sometimes it can be your hip, because our quadriceps kind of attach to 2 things. So we're going to take our foam roller. It's going right down on the ground. We're going to lay on it. Right in the middle of our quad. Now I've got my other foot for weight bearing, and I've got both my arms helping me, and I'm just going up and down. And I'm avoiding going as high as my hip. So I'm staying off the bony prominences of my hip, and I'm not going on my kneecap, on my patella. And I'm just going to go up and down about 10 times. And now, if you're at home and you're going up and down, you got your 10 times, and you find this like spot that really lights you up, you say, oh my God, that hurts a lot. What I want you to do is stay in that spot and kind of go side to side. You're going to go side to side. Let's see, maybe I'll move back. You guys can see a little bit better. So, right here, I'm going side to side. I'm scrubbing my quad, basically, giving it a horizontal foam rolling versus going up and down, which they're both good, but the horizontal movement on that leg or on that muscle is going against the fiber direction. And that is so novel and new to your body. Your body says, whoa, what is this? What is all this new stuff? I kind of like it. And then it relaxes, it decreases the threat or the tension or the tone that is being perceived in that muscle, and you can move it a little bit better. So we're going to go on to the other side. We're going to do the same thing up and down, maybe 10 times. Maybe just while I talk, you're just foam rolling. So you're going up and down. I've got some spots on this side that are a little sore. I did a lot of squatting and kettlebell swings yesterday, so I'm kind of sore. Oh, now you find that spot and you just go side to side a couple times, then you move on, you find another one and you go side to side. Whew. That feels good, I guess. And the beauty is with foam rolling is that you can kind of apply the pressure that feels best for you. If your eyes are bugging out of your head and you're on like a 9 out of 10 pain scale, that's actually not doing anything good for your body. What you're going to do is you're going to teach your body, your nervous system, to just be like, oh man, this implementation of that tool causes pain. I need to tense up, and we don't want that. We want it to be enjoyable. We want it to be just like stretching because we want the muscles to relax. And so if your body is sensing threat, it's going to tighten up, and that's not going to allow you to get the most benefit out of that modality. Okay, so like I said, we're going to foam roll that muscle, and then we're going to stretch it. So you're down on one knee, you got your pad or pillow or whatever it is, maybe you're tough and you're just doing it on carpet, and that's cool. You're going to tuck your toes in the back because we want to get some of that big toe mobility that's so helpful in propelling us forward and can cause so many issues in the front of our knee if we don't have good toe extension. You're going to tuck your butt under and you're going to come up. And you should feel a stretch in the front of your hip. And that's it. Now maybe you don't feel a stretch in the front of your hip, but you're like, hey, how can I get more of a stretch? If you have your foam roller, you can actually tuck it back here, and that's going to lift your foot up just a little bit. Sure, you're going to lose that ability to work on your toe mobility, but you can maybe get into a little bit more extension. Or if you still don't feel anything, you can just grab here. And now you're feeling quad, hip flexor, TFL, all of that stuff in the front of your leg stretching, keeping your torso up. Not leaning back. Okay, this is trouble for your low back usually. So you're just nice and tall and you're trying to pull your heel towards your butt. And we're going to be here about 60 seconds total, so I think we've got about 20 seconds left here, and then we're switching sides. And then we're going to stretch out, then we're going to go back to foam rolling, and then we're going to stretch out. So you'll pick up on this pattern again. We foam roll, we stretch, we foam roll, we stretch, and then we use it, we put it all together. So today we're foam rolling and stretching the front of our hip, and then we're going to do the back of our hip, and then we're going to put it all together with 90-90 knee switches in a split squat. I know, we're going to put it all together. We're going to be efficient with our time. So we're going over to the other side. Once again, you can put the foam roller under your foot. You can just have your toes stuck, or you can pull up. You can have something to hold on to. This is not a balance exercise. It's all about stretching. I want you to really focus on getting that stretch in the front of your leg. It's hip and knee day. Okay, it's not let's compress our low back day. It's not work on our balance by doing this. You're not going to get good stretch in your hip if you're doing either of those things. And you're trying to pull your heel to your butt to get as much of a quad stretch as you can. It is really hot in here. I am going to be sweating up a storm by the end of this. I think I've got a towel around here somewhere. We're going to go about 15 more seconds, maybe 20, and then we're going on to foam roll the backs of our butts, our piriformis, our glute medius, these muscles that can restrict the amount of motion we have in our hip, particularly internal rotation. And it's been studied and determined that people who have back pain typically have a restriction in their hip internal rotation, or the ability to get into this position with their thigh. And so what happens is the muscles maybe in the back of our hip are really, really tight, and the capsule, and the muscles and the tendons, and they don't allow us to get here. And so to get here, what we do is we round our back a lot more. And so we put increased stress on the discs, on the facets, on the tendons in our back, and the muscles. We're going to get rid of this pad. We're going back to the foam roller. So you're just going to put the foam roller right down on the ground, and you're going to use it as a seat. So I'm going to sit on it with my right butt cheek. And then from here, I'm going to cross my leg over. And that kind of puts me into some external rotation, but because my hip is flexed, I'm lengthening those hip external rotators, and I'm just going to rock up and down. Maybe this lights you up. Maybe you say, oh my God, I've just been ignoring this little corner of my hip for way too long. I've got my other arm supporting me. I've got my front leg supporting me. Just rolling up and down. And kind of like your quad, if you feel a really tender area, you can then go side to side on it. So we're not pushing harder. We're just going in a different direction, giving a different stimulus, different input to that muscle. The body can maybe then do something different with that information. And we're just going up and down, about a minute total. And we're going to switch sides, and then we're going to do a pigeon stretch. So we foam roll, we stretch, and then, like I said, we're going to put it all together for both the front and the back of the hip. Oh man, I'm going to need a big glass of water after this one. All right, so we're switching sides. So you're leaning more on your left, crossing that left over your right, and just hanging out here. So you're going to get a little bit of a glute piriformis hip rotator stretch in the back. But at the same time, we're just rolling, rolling, rolling. And one good thing about this is that I don't feel as much on my left side as I do my right. And so I know my right hip is a little weaker, it's typically a little tighter, and even the foam rolling is a little bit more uncomfortable on that side. It's all fitting within a pattern. There's no surprises here for me. I hope there's none for you. If one hip has been a little bit more sore, maybe you're finding that that side is a little more sore with this foam rolling. I don't even need to do the side-to-side thing. Maybe you do. And we're going to go here for another 8 seconds. And then it's time to do a pigeon stretch. And a pigeon stretch is great because it's kind of like choose your own adventure. Because there's so many varieties of it to stretch out the back of your hip. For today's purposes, we're going to do a pretty traditional one where we have our leg out in front of us, our back leg is straight, and I want you to keep your chest up. I don't want you to go here and collapse and flex your spine. We do enough flexing of our spine with our sitting all day. So here we're able to keep our lumbar spine in a nice, normal, neutral position, and we're allowed to get the movement coming from our posterior hip capsule. So we're not getting the movement from our back, we're getting true stretch in our actual glute. And you can sit into it a little bit more to get a little bit more stretch, or you can kind of sit out of it to get a little bit less. Or, if you don't like this, and we've got about 30 seconds left, you can pop down on your back, cross your right ankle over your left knee, and pull up, and you'll get another similar stretch. Or maybe this bothers your knee, and then you can just straighten out that leg and pull your right leg up and over, and you're still going to get that stretch in the back of the hip. But for me, today, especially on my right side, because I know it's a little tighter, I'm going back up here. And I've got, I don't know, 8 seconds left here. I think we've passed the minute, actually. And then we're going to switch sides. So we did all that foam rolling to get a little bit more relaxation in the hip, so then we can stretch it and get a little bit more stretch. And just like, I switched, by the way, chest up, leaning into it. Just like the hip flexor stretch, we're just relaxing and breathing into it. It should be something that you want to do again. And maybe your left and your right side stretches don't feel the same, or maybe you have to do one of those other variations on one side versus the other. Totally cool. There's nothing that says because you did one stretch one way on one side, you have to do it the same way on the other. But what you might want to do with that information is say, wow, why do I have this asymmetry in my body? What can I do about it? Because the number one indicator of injuries is previous injury. So that's number one. So if you've rolled your ankle, the most likely reason you're going to roll your ankle again is because you already previously rolled it. But then you have to start looking at asymmetries between sides of the body. And if there are asymmetries, you might be more likely to have an injury or pain in that area on that side of the body. So things that we look at as physical therapists and rehab professionals. Oh man, it is like a sauna in here. I'm getting Great glow, a nice sweat going. All right, so we have stretched the front of our hip, we've stretched the backs of our hip, we've used the foam rollers, and now we're going to put it all together. We're going to start to program new movement into our body. So we have all this new available range of motion in our body. And so we want to use it. We don't want to just like mobilize and stretch and then be like, see you later. We want to use it. We want to ingrain these new movement patterns or broader movement patterns onto our movement map. And to do that today, we're going to be back down in this half kneeling position. You're going to want your toes tucked under and back. From here, we're getting a little bit of a stretch in the front of our hip. We're going to pop up and rotate our feet. You don't have to stop here in the middle, but just so you can see, I'm slightly turned out with my feet. And then I'm shifting and going back down. And so I'm going through hip internal and external rotation, the things we were stretching out and mobilizing before with our hip flexors and our glutes, piriformis, and hip rotators. And so we're using those guys. We're putting it all together to move better when we deadlift, when we squat, when we run, when we cycle, when we walk, when we pick up our kids, when we take the groceries out of the trunk, all that stuff. We need to use our hips. It's going to help keep our back healthy, our knees healthy, our ankles are going to move well. I think we've got one more on each side. It's like a dance move. DDR days are well behind me. Okay, I've actually never done DDR, so maybe my wife will want to do that in a couple months once our daughter shows up. Okay, so this is probably going to be the hardest exercise of the day if you decide to do the challenge I'm about to throw your way. And it's a little side plank, just a measly old little side plank with a slight progression. And now, I'm going to give you the option to do the more challenging variation, obviously. If you don't want to, all you're going to be doing is a nice old-fashioned short side plank. So your hips are bent to about 45 degrees, your knees are bent to about 90 degrees. Now what does that do? That basically gets your heels in line with your butt. If you're like, hey Mike, geometry wasn't my thing, all you want to do is get your heels in line with your butt. You're then going to lift up, and then you're going to go down. And when you lift up, you're just squeezing your butt cheeks really hard. You're still using those glutes. You're going to notice a theme from those 90-90 switching split squats that we just did to these side planks, to the next exercise, the one after that, all for your glutes, except if you decide to do this little challenge I have for you. So if you don't want to do it and you just love your side planks, you're going to do 10 on each side. If you want to make this a little bit more challenging, you're going to go up into your side plank, you're going to take your top leg, and you're going to put that foot right on the floor. And you're like, wow, Mike, this is not very challenging. And so I want you to push your heel down into the ground. Still not challenging. You're going to straighten out your back leg. All right, maybe we're getting a little bit more challenging. My butt cheek's having to work. And then you're going to brace your trunk, and you're going to lift that back leg. Now we're talking about challenge. And then you're down. All the way down, then you go up and lift your leg. And so you're using the adductors on the stabilization leg, the top leg, but you're using the adductors on your bottom leg too to help lift that leg and get your foot off the ground. We're going to go one more and then switch sides. I'm sweating up a storm. 3. Okay. Now we're going to the other side. I don't actually know if I can do this on this side. So we're going up into our regular side planks. If you want to just be here, just doing 10 reps up and down, nice and smooth, squeezing your butt cheeks. The rest of us are going to do 3 reps of this adductor plank. So we're over the top. You're extended in your back leg, bracing your trunk, lift. Oh boy. Okay. And down. We've got 2 more to go. 3-second hold at the top. Up and up. Oh, this is a little harder. I'm having to work a little bit too hard on this right side, so my left side is getting sacrificed. All right, last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've incorporated our adductors. These muscles are really good at helping support our flexors and our extenders. So our quads, our hip flexors, our glutes, and our hamstrings. The adductors can do all of their functions while stabilizing the pelvis in the frontal plane. So a lot of times when these guys start to hurt, we actually think we're getting a hernia way up in our groin, and it's actually just our adductors being like, hey, You've taxed me a little bit too much. You never trained me. You never did anything. Remember that plank Mike had us do? Oh yeah, that would have been good to continue to do. And that's where the adductors can come into play. And they can keep you on the field. They can keep you running, keep you healthy, keep your hips nice and strong and healthy as well. We're working on these inner thigh muscles. All right, so we're going to need our rubber band again for the next 2 exercises. It's going around your knees. So, timber. Okay, so we're going to do fire hydrants. Why are they called fire hydrants? Because it looks like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. So you're going to be on your hands and knees. And if this bothers your wrist, you can just go up onto your fist. Or you can drop down here. It's a little bit harder in this range, so maybe you want to prop yourself up. You're going to take one leg, and you're going to lift it out to the side. And then back to where you start. And you're like, Mike, this isn't so hard. But what's hard about it, and you're going to do 12 on each side, is that you need to brace your trunk, or if you look at me from this side, if I don't do that, I start rotating both hips, and you're not getting anything done for your glute. So you have to stay really stable in your trunk, and just lift out to the side as far as you can go without moving your back. Now I'm just going to go for 10 total, but you guys are doing 12. And I got 3 more. And so we're working on our trunk stability, having a really stable trunk so we can efficiently produce glute contractions. So if we're all wobbly and we're hula hooping in our trunk, we're not going to be able to efficiently and strongly contract our glutes, which is the whole point of this. 12 times. Even with this light band, I feel my butt working. All right, 12. Okay, so you can see why they call that fire hydrant. I'm going to grab a towel. I'll be right back. Okay. So, the next exercise is called the standing clamshell. We're used to laying down on our side and moving our knee around, but we're going to press it up onto our feet because I want you to see how moving your hip can actually influence your foot and what happens at your foot. I posted something on bunions. I think it was Monday, maybe earlier this week, maybe it was Wednesday, Tuesday, I don't know. And I talked about how if we let our knee collapse in and we run over the top of it, our big toe can start to migrate laterally, resulting in a bunion. And so what I want you to see is how moving your hip out can actually help you build an arch, but also take the pressure off your big toe as you propel yourself forward. Now, we're not going to be moving our foot like this during this exercise, but you can start to see how they relate. So you're going to have your hips your feet underneath your hips. I don't want you wide. It's not going to be as effective if you go really wide. I also want your feet straight ahead. This doesn't work if you turn your feet out. So we're going to go feet straight ahead, underneath my hips, and I'm just going to make a little tiny clamshell. And we're going to go for 20. And now, my band is super loose, so I'm not going to feel a bunch of my glute here, but what I do feel is that as I externally rotate and I keep my foot on the floor, oh my God, I start to build up my arch. It automatically and reflexively goes up. So as I'm creating external rotation moment in my hip, all of a sudden, my arch goes up. And you can start to see how these two things might be related. And it might be important to strengthen my hip so my foot feels better, and also strengthen my foot so my hip works a lot better and I don't keep getting this pinch as I do things like squatting and running. And I'm somewhere about 20, and I'm going to the other side. Oh my God, the same thing happens. Now with my feet straight ahead, I have a greater ability to create external rotation in my hip because I'm not just passively putting my muscles short. Okay, passive insufficiency doesn't let me create a strong glute contraction in this position. I'm much stronger. When my feet are straight ahead, I have more range of motion to create power and strength. So I'm a big fan of the feet forward. Now, everybody's hips are a little bit different, okay? Our anatomy is a little different. Some people's hip joints are faced straight ahead. Some people's are out to the side, and some are way out to the side. And you will know if you go to squat down and you have to turn your feet out, chances are your hips are angled out more. But if you can squat down and keep your feet straight ahead, chances are your hips like that. So I'm going to strongly encourage it. Now, I don't know, maybe you've done 20 already and you're just waiting for me to shut up and move on. But I'm going to finish my 20. I think I got like 3 more. You don't have to dance. Okay. And we are done with that band for today. All right, and I'm sweating my butt off, but we get a little break here because we are going back down to the floor with our foam roller. Yes, foam roller. And you are putting it right underneath your calf. Your calf, why my calf? Well, if your calf is tight, you're going to have decreased dorsiflexion in your ankle. Your squatting mechanics and your running mechanics and your walking mechanics are all going to be thrown off. You're probably going to end up in a long time having anterior knee pain because the forces can't go through your soleus and your glute. And you put a lot of stress through that tendon and it doesn't like it. And so we have to foam roll our calf. But we're going to just foam roll it normally up and down a little bit here, maybe 10 times or so. But then we're going to scrub it. And we went over calf scrubbing last week. But we're going to take it to the next level today. And up and down, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, Mike. Great. Okay, I know what I'm doing. Okay, now, this is where we turn up the heat. Not that the heat can be turned up anymore in here. It's like 150 degrees. You're going to take your other leg, and you're going to put it right on top. You're going to put that weight of your leg on there. You no longer can take the weight off of this calf with your opposite leg. You're putting it right on top. And maybe this is all you need to scrub back and forth. You're giving that horizontal stimulation to the muscle, right? We're stimulating the muscle, stretching it out in a horizontal way, which is perpendicular to the way of the fibers, giving it that novel stimulus so it says, maybe I should relax while I'm getting stretched. And then you can gain some more dorsiflexion. We're gonna use it in a minute here because we're gonna squat next. And so we're actively stretching the muscle as we squat. Now maybe you're like, Mike, this doesn't feel too bad. That's not so bad. Well, maybe pop yourself up, and now it's almost all your body weight on that calf, and you're going side to side in those tender, hot spots. You're keeping it below a 7 out of 10 though. Anything above that, and you're probably going to start to tense up. And then you're going to the other side. Maybe give it a couple rolls, say, hey, great, this feels good. But then we're gonna, like I said, turn up the heat. You're going to cross that leg over. You're going to come up and you're just going to roll side to side. And this calf is going crazy. Oh, right there. 10 times should be sufficient. That's getting above a 7 out of 10 for me. So I got to back off a little bit. I'm going to put my butt back down. And we're just going side to side. A couple more. Okay. We're done with the foam roller. I hope we're done at least. That thing rolled pretty far. And we're moving on to squats. We are dynamically stretching out our calves and our feet for that matter with something called a Hindu squat. And it's like magic. I write these programs out earlier in the week, and then inevitably on my social media accounts, I start seeing everything I list show up, which is kind of cool. Because it means that the smart people that I follow are having the same trains of thought. And I'm like, cool, I'm doing good things for you guys. So we're going to do a Hindu squat, and if for some reason your big toes, your ankles, your knees can't handle the Hindu squat, you're going to do something called a prying squat. So I'm going to show you a Hindu squat, and I'm going to explain why you're doing it. And then I'm going to show you a prying squat, and I'll explain the same thing, why we're doing it. A Hindu squat typically is done holding on to something and progressing out of holding on to something like a broomstick or a dowel, or it could be a wall, something like that. You're going to go up on your toes. From here, you're going to squat down. And so I'm purposely lifting my heels so I can bend my knees but keep my torso erect. I'm eccentrically loading my quadricep tendons to help them remodel, get out of pain, stress them in a way that is healthy. At the same time, I'm also mobilizing my big toes and using some of that ankle dorsiflexion that we just got from scrubbing our calves. So if those don't agree with you, say your knee is just bothering you too much, it's too hot, but you still want to stretch out your hips a little bit, you're going to put your feet straight ahead, you're going to squat down, you're going to put your elbows right between your knees, chest is tall, and you're going to pry one way, keeping your foot down, pry the other way with your elbow, and then stand up. That's going down, stretching out your adductors that we use with those planks, adductors, keeping your chest tall to stretch out the backs of the hips too, and then you're up. I'm going to go back to the Hindu squats. I'm going to do about 4 more. The rest of you, find your sweet spot, do your Hindu squats or your prying squats. Come down, whoop, maybe I need, here we go. Dropping down, and then back up. Uh-oh. Alrighty, okay. We're going down. Hey, what's up, Brian?
I stole Kat's phone. We live.
We're doing some Hindu squats. You want to join?
Yeah, I'm joining right now. Hold on. Let me set up.
All right. Everybody, take a break. Good. All right. I'm here. So a Hindu squat, great for toe mobility, great for balance, great for loading up your quad and patellar tendons. Nice and tall. Your heels are up. You squat down. There we go. Heels are up.
Yep.
Squat down. How low can you go? Can you get your butt to your heels?
No.
All right. Do the best you can.
I am 54 years old. How do I look?
You look good for 75.
Yeah.
All right. Here we got a couple more, and then I'm going to show you a nice flying squat. All right. And so that's called a Hindu squat. It's really easy on your hips, your backs, and your knees. It's great at loading up your quad tendons, your patellar tendons.
Look at that. Look at that old man calf. Look at that thing.
So with a flying squat, we're looking to open up your hips, your inner thighs a little bit more. So you're going to put your feet straight ahead. Feet are straight ahead. You squat down, you get your elbows on the insides of your knees. You push your elbow into one of your knees and turn that way. Stretches out your inner thigh, and then you go the other way. And then you're back up. And then you're back down, you do it again. Keep your chest really tall. There you go.
Wow.
And we got one more. One more. One way. Good. Other way. Good. Okay. So those are prying squats. Both variations are great at opening up your hips, stretching out your knees. And the last thing we're going to do is just a nice, easy stretch to stretch out our TFL, a muscle that kind of feeds into our IT band. If you've been having tightness on the outside of your knees, this is going to be the one for you. So what I want you to do, you're going to cross one leg over, and put your hands on your hips. Whatever the back leg is, so I have my left leg in back. Uh-oh. He's on dad's gas. All right. You're going to push your back hip, whatever leg's in back, you're going to push it out to the side.
Oh.
And then you're going to turn away from that hip.
Oh.
And so we're stretching out our TFL and our glute medius, which feed into our IT band. Because our IT band is not stretchable. It is a tendon. You have to apply thousands of pounds of pressure for hours to get a stretch. So we're stretching the muscles that feed into it. Our TFL on the front, our glute medius in the back. And we've got about 25 seconds left here, and then we're switching sides.
Oh.
You've been running, you've been jumping, you've been squatting. You're probably going to feel this one right on the side of your hip.
Wow. This is a good one, Mike.
I only play the hits.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to undo it all. Oh. You're going to step what was the back leg in front now. You're going to pop your hip out to the side. And then you're turning away from that hip.
Am I doing this wrong?
No. So push whatever foot's back, push that hip out to the side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't forget that little push. Oh, all right. You're stuck there for a minute. Once you start, you can't stop.
How do the Scott brothers look? It's like we're twinning right now.
Yeah, except I have a six-pack ab apron on and a $100 bill in an iPhone box.
Yeah, it backfired. Like anywhere from 3 to 5 people won.
That didn't backfire. That is just advertising costs.
All right.
That's your marketing.
The number 18.
Number 18. Wow. All right, we got 3 seconds left, and we are done for the day.
Oh.
All right, you missed a good one. I don't know how much you followed along, but it is. Let's see how hot it is here. All right, it's 83 degrees in the gym today. I am clearly sweating.
Wow.
Oof. This is a hot one. Yeah, so we went over some stretches. All right, Brian, I'm going to kick you off here. I don't even know how I do that. Yes, wow. Cody, you're late. Let's see. What do people have to say? All right. Yes.
Where'd you get that haircut? That's what I want to know.
I gave myself this haircut. It's pretty good.
You are self-sufficient.
All right. Hindu squats. There we go. They're crazy. Yes, they are, Christina. Oh.
You look like some sort of hipster barista.
Yes.
It's kind of like look at my head.
Back up. I'll be making your drinks.
Look at this.
Look at. Oh wow. You look like Yoda's ears coming out of the side of your head.
Wow.
Or Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson.
Oh, yeah. No, I see that. Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right,
get my quaff.
All right, anyway. So it's hip and knee day. We touched upon the foot and ankle a little bit. It is crucial to the performance of running and jumping and squatting and all that stuff. So we can't ignore it on these days. Look at that. He's like a little monkey.
I could barely walk before I jumped on. You're helping. It's immediate. It's instantaneous.
Yes, you always want to have good elasticity within your calves and your quads to help propel you up, and your glutes for that matter. So we did a lot of stretching. We did some foam rolling. You'll catch on to the patterns that I work with. It's stretching and foam rolling and activating kind of in that pattern to help improve your movement patterns and the way and quality in which you move. So that was today's hip and knee. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can find me at my Instagram, Connect Potential PT. You're already here. Hit me up in my direct messages. I love helping people, answering your questions. Every once in a while, you'll get someone like my brother popping on here that I can put through their paces. You can also email me at kineticpotentialpt@gmail.com.